A total of 5 wires need to be connected, 3 line wires, 1 neutral wire, 1 ground wire. Here is a vacuum cleaner connection part. Connect 3 live wires here. Connect a neutral wire here. If the screen cannot light up, please adjust any 2 live wires until the screen lights up. An 8 mm air pipe needs to be connected here. The interface after the machine is turned on. The machine will display an alarm. XYZ axis has not returned to the origin. Just follow the sequence. 1. Click operation. 2. Click origin. 3. Click to start processing. You can see that the value is constantly changing. Indicates that the drill is returning to the origin. Now let's start teaching about setting up door panel templates. Click on Project Management. Add a document. Select the corresponding document and click Write File to start setting. Please watch the demonstration. Next, enter the date of the door panel. Measure the corresponding date and enter it. The door thickness of this case is 42.5 mm. The length is 2000毫米. The width is 800 mm. Click to complete the door panel setting. This is model of the door panel. For ease of understanding, this position is called the dot. Introduction to mortise hole shapes. Runway, circle, keyhole, rectangle. Also left drilled holes. Hole hinges are rarely used. Left drilled holes can usually solve the problem. Regular polygons are basically not used. The straightener is used to make grooves. Due to location restrictions, the groove cannot be too long. Next, design the lock shape. Let's start with the hole position of the handle. Use this as a reference point, because the position of our door is generally determined by the position of the handle. So start from here. The distance from the door to half the door length is usually 950 mm. Click the circle option below to start setting. Then here is the distance from the dot to the lock hole. Enter the corresponding value. This refers to the distance from the center of the door handle lock hole to the wide side of the lock body. Then it is the radius of the lock hole. Need to measure this position. It is the distance measured by a ruler. This is the depth of the hole. In our case, the door panel thickness is 42.5 mm. Just follow the door panel thickness, then pay attention to the drill number here. If you need to mill in a large hole, just choose drill 1. Here you should pay attention the number of times you drill. Because you can't drill too deep, the depth of the door panel in the case needs to be divided 3 to 4 times. Determine the number of times of division according to the hardness of the material. The door handle lock hole setting is completed. The door handle lock hole has appeared on the model. Next, we will go to the setting of the keyhole. Select the keyhole to enter the setting. The position of the lock car hole needs attention. The lock cylinder direction in the case is inconsistent with the system setting. You need to set 180 degrees here to adjust the direction. Now we will enter the dimensions in order. This distance code indicates 1. This distance code indicates 2. Distance 1 minus distance 2. The video case is 950 minus 58 equals 892. This distance indicates the distance from the wide side of the dot to the round head of the lock car hole. Because the handle hole and the lock cylinder are on the same horizontal line, the distance is the same. The video example is 45 mm. This distance indicates the radius of the round head of the lock car hole. This radius is the same as the door handle hole. This distance represents the radius of the circle at the end of the lock car hole. This distance indicates the distance from the center of the key lock head to the center of the tail. This needs to be measured according to your model. Finally, the drilling depth is set to 42.5 mm as before. Also select drill 1. The number of drilling divisions is 3 times. Finally, the direction problem mentioned above is left. Just fill in 180 degrees for angle. The set model can be reversed. After the setting is completed, you can see that the direction will change when you go outside. If you find that the display does not correspond, please change it in time. Next, we will set the positioning holes. Click the next page. Click the left drill hole. Let's start with these 2 holes. This indicates the distance from the long side of the origin to the center of the positioning hole. Because the left drill hole and the handle hole are on the same horizontal line, this represents the distance from the wide side of the origin to the center of the positioning hole. Here still the same 42.5 mm. Here use the drill 2. Just select 3 times for of drilling. The positioning hole setting complete. The rest of the positioning holes can be set according to the previous method. At this time, the holes on the front have been made. Start to make the holes on the side. First click the switch wheel in the upper right corner. The bright one is the current page. The dark one is another page. The model is switched to the side view. Click the runway. Click the runway. If the side of the lock body is a rectangle, you need to select the rectangular option to set it. One of the data is the center line, distance of the runway. Use the marking method to draw the approximate center line. Measure the distance from the handle hole to the center line. Then use the known distance from the dot to the handle hole. Subtract the distance from the handle hole to the center line. You can get accurate data. The video case is 934 mm. You must draw the center line to calculate accurately. Next, measure the length of the runway. The video case is 174 mm. Distance from the wide side of the origin to the center of the runway. The distance here represents the width of the runway. The video case is 22 mm. The distance here represents the depth of the runway. Measure this position. If there is a rubber pad under the runway, you need to count the rubber pad. The case is 4.5 mm. Be sure to pay attention to whether there is a rubber pad, otherwise it will cause deviation. Then select the drill 11. Because the runway is relatively thin, one time the villain is enough. Click Finish and compare the template graphics to see if they are correct. Finally, you need to set the runway again, used to trim the runway. Click the runway again. Re-enter the data of the runway set previously. Then select the drill 12. One-time drilling is enough. Start to enter the settings of the rectangle. Refers to the size of the lock body inlay. Here refers to the distance from the wide side of the origin to the center of the lock body. Here refers to the distance from the wide side of the origin to the center of the lock body. Here refers to the size of the entire lock body length. To avoid insufficient space, you need to make the size of the drill hole a little larger. Add an extra drill radius. The size of the lock body length plus the drill radius. Here refers to the thickness of the entire lock body, not the width of the lock body. It is equivalent to the thickness at this position. Similarly, the drilling size cannot be just right. You need to add a little more size. We have already dealt with the length and thickness of the lock body. This refers to the depth of the lock body, not the thickness of the lock body. This dimension also needs to be deepened by a few millimeters. Here, use the drill 11, which is T3. Because of the case is 75 mm, drilling 10 mm each time, so it needs to drill 7 times. Three buttons control the pressing. The three buttons are Power On, Pressing and Reset. One click can automatically press. Computer control host can also press. Let's go to the screen to show. First click the mode position. Then click manual control. Light up the option of pressing. There is a lubricating oil pump on the back of the machine. When the oil is low, an alarm will sound to remind you to refuel. These oils are used to lubricate the guide rails. Failure to add oil in time will cause the guide rails to wear. The operator needs to clean the wood chips regularly. This position also needs to be cleaned. Prevent the cylinder from rusting.